2020 coming to an end. Crazy year. Anyways, thank you guys. I want to say thank you to all of you guys who have watched these videos, all of you guys who have subscribed to my channel. Without you, all of this is nothing, and your support means the world to me. In today's video, we're going to take a look back at our biggest project of 2020, and that was the Everything Garage. That needs a better name. The Everything Garage. Leave a comment down below. What should I name this place? I need a name. Anyways, the build of this garage from start to finish. Let's dive in. So you're probably wondering why I'm standing here in a back alley essentially next to a giant lake, which our back alley always is. And that's because I'm actually standing in front of our next major project. Yes, you are correct, it is a garage. Alrighty, so let's take a quick minute just to chat about the design and goals of the new garage. I'm not going to dive into every little detail like we did in the initial design and planning video that we did months and months ago. I'll have a link to all of those videos down in the bottom description and a link to the playlist at the end of this video. But to kind of make this make sense as its own standalone video if you haven't watched any of the others, we knew we were going to switch the design to a 3-car garage that faced the back alley. Now there's a couple reasons for this. We wanted to make sure we had room to park 3 vehicles, one being our tent trailer. And in addition, we wanted to make the garage large enough to include a home gym or climbing area in the back corner. That's all you really need to know for the build aspect and the rest of this video, but like I said, if you're interested and you're wondering about how we went about or why we went about choosing certain aspects for this build, head back and watch that video. We have all the details in there. With that, here's one more look at that original dilapidated garage, and let's dive into the build. So I know the noise in the background is awfully loud, but basically if you can see over my shoulder here, the garage is down and it is, I don't have my phone on me, but it can't be even 10 o'clock yet. So less than an hour to take that structure down. They'll get it cleaned up now, and then we can move on to taking out all the concrete. With that old garage demolished and out of the way, it was time to prepare for the new build. This meant locating our utilities, excavating the site down to our initial grade, and drilling in our screw piles. Finding this water shutoff is actually quite a big deal because that tells us we can't screw piles along this line because we know both water and sewer come in the same trench to our house. All the screw piles are now in behind me, so the final step is we've got a height depth measured on the fence over there. We're going to set up the laser line and cut them all to height, everything minus that one in the driveway, which is going to get cut a little bit lower because obviously we need to be able to drive into the garage. Welcome back to another episode here at the homestead, and in this week's episode we take the Everything Garage project from this to that. Now admittedly, at the beginning of this project I knew very little about forming and pouring concrete, but that being said, it was a ton of fun working with Trevor and his crew, and I learned a ton throughout this entire process. To give you a quick rundown of the foundation for this garage, we installed our screw piles, and those are going to be embedded directly within the grade beam. The grade beam is essentially a concrete wall that holds the walls of our garage, and then inside that grade beam we'll prep and pour our pad. And just like that, the foundation or the grade beam for this garage, the basis of which everything else is going to be built upon, is in. And a little bit of troweling left to spread it out, make it nice and even. Make sure in those open doorways are all nice and spread, even and flat. And then it's on to working on the pad. Well, that ends one long day here at the Everything Garage project. It's about 11 p.m. now. I'm probably already a little too loud for our neighbors. We'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Another day. Sun is shining here. They came yesterday and actually finished off the poly and all the rebars. You can see it there sitting behind me. And the concrete truck is sitting here, and we're ready to get pouring. Finally, we hit the point of the project that I'm most comfortable with. I got my hands on wood and we've started framing. I am building this garage out of 2x6 dimensional lumber with 10-foot walls at 16 inches on center. Now, I understand this is probably overkill, and in fact, it's not exactly how we build a lot of the structures around here anymore. Standard framing has moved to 24-inch on center, and most garages seem to be built out of 2x4 studs instead of 2x6 studs. However, just like the foundation, I wanted to go that little bit extra, go that little bit overkill to know that my garage is going to be stable, structurally sound, and going to stand the test of time. Once we had all the walls framed and stood up, it was time to start plumbing them. We did this by strapping boards in between the walls and pushing or pulling depending on how the wall needed to move. We needed these walls perfectly plumb before we could start working on the roof. A little heavier. The roof trusses arrived right as we finished plumbing up the walls, and with still half a day of work ahead of us, it meant we could dive right in. Now, we went with two different styles of roof trusses here. One standard Fink style truss over the double side of the garage, and these were beefed up with a 2x6 bottom cord to allow for some storage. And then what we call a scissor truss or a vaulted truss on the single side of the garage so that I could eventually add a 4-post lift for car maintenance, car work, and just an extra parking spot. Alright, so moving outside, this is where the majority of our changes have occurred. So first and foremost, we got the entire garage wrapped. Now in this case we just used standard DuPont Tyvek, nothing fancy. But the other big change out here is we've got all the windows and our door in place. The roof has been shingled, and that really gives us a closed-in garage. Actually, you know what? I'm going to throw you up there so you can have a look. Whew, almost dropped you. So you'll notice a few things that we've done up here. We've just used standard black architectural shingle. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you from a little bit higher up. As I mentioned earlier, they're more or less a standard asphalt shingle. In this case, they are what's called an SDS, or a laminated rubber shingle. So that asphalt shingle is laminated with a bit of a rubber and fiberglass core to allow them to be a little bit more impact resistant. The other identifying feature is that we used steel channels in each of the valleys. This just helps the roof last a little bit longer, especially in areas where a lot of water could be moving through. For this garage, I went with aluminum soffits and fascia. When you're installing this, just make sure you think about how water and air need to move and install everything accordingly. On some parts of our garage, we did have to go with non-vented soffits due to local bylaws. Trim work on this garage, I'm going to be using basically a PVC or a vinyl trim. Now, I'll put it up close. It's got kind of a texture you see there to make it look like a wood grain. But the nice thing about this is it lasts more or less indefinitely as long as it's not getting, whacked and hacked and beaten up. But the weather doesn't tear this apart like it does natural wood siding. And the best part is the holes can be filled, it can be painted and treated just like wood, but it'll last a lot longer without the same maintenance. Finished. It's lunchtime. So if you guys remember back in the beginning of the series, in our planning and design video, and if you don't remember, don't worry, I will link it up in one of those two corners and as well down in the description below. But I talked about wanting all of my windows to be in a nice line together all the way across the top of the garage. And what this did is A, it made it so no one could walk up and easily look inside them, and B, it allowed me to put a window above my door. By having this window now at the height above the door, it allows me to take a really simple and inexpensive steel door, just like this one here, and give it an elevated look with that window above. Had I ordered these two as a full transom window unit with a door, it probably would have cost double or triple what I paid for these separately. There are a couple steps that need completing before we get started with the siding. The first is adding drip edges above all the windows and doors, and the second is getting all that J-channel installed. So our siding has finally come in for the rest of this garage. Like I said, we had the J trim already, but we've been waiting on the actual siding for almost 6 weeks. which means we can get this garage pretty close to finished up on the outside. And then fingers crossed our garage doors come in next week, and that'll wrap up the actual build portion of this project. With all the siding in the back of the trailer, we can finally get it installed and finish up this garage build. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys with 1,200 square feet of siding installation, so here's a couple quick clips and just a quick rundown of what I did. I used black board and batten vertical siding for the vast majority of the garage, but in order to tie it in with the house, we added some red horizontal standard lap siding, and this gives it a little bit of a two-tone look and breaks up some of the monotony that a single color can often have. One thing I will mention are the couple methods that I used to cut the vinyl siding. The first was a vinyl flooring cutter. It's quick, it's easy, and it's a perfect cut every time. For all of my angled cuts, I made myself a jig. This gave me a nice repeatable cut that was clean and easy to do with the circular saw. Finally, for any of the finicky stuff like cutouts around boxes, etc., I used tin snips, which is just kind of the classic way to cut vinyl siding. Guys, there it is. That's 2020. I hope 2021 is fantastic to you guys. Have a safe evening tonight. Have lots of fun. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2021.